How's it going, everybody? And welcome to the Sports Talk Podcast with Alec Pecado on Monday, April 22nd. This is going to be a little bit of a longer intro than usual, but we will get into the video. I just wanted to update y'all. I will not be taking a break after Friday's episode of the Sports Talk Podcast Friday night. Instead, we will be chugging right along with more content on a Sports Talk Podcast. I have made the decision that it's better off if I don't take a break from putting up content for y'all. But I want y'all's input in the comment section down below. And I want y'all to tell me if you feel like I need to take a little break and reboot and refresh from making content and just post stuff on the community polls, let me know down below in the comment section, please. Input is welcome. But let's get into the show. Here is my fantasy baseball player of the weekend from this weekend. It is Jack Flaherty of the Tigers. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts. I know that says 12. I meant to change it. Yeah, he had 10 strikeouts, not 12. That's on me. I meant to change it. But I've noticed this year that he's pitched really well so far for the Tigers. And he is a near must-add in fantasy baseball. Must-add. There is absolutely no question about it. But the one thing I caution with you, he's done a good job of not walking batters so far. He had 1 walk in this last start. He's walked 4 guys through 4 starts. He's walked 4 batters through 4 starts. Be careful adding him because you never know. That could easily change in a heartbeat. Jack Flaherty could go into a spurt where he walks 3 or 4 batters a game. So if you're going to add him, I would. He starts against the Rays this week. And you're going to hear me talk about his teammate in a little bit. And in like 2 minutes. Outstanding pitching performances over the weekend. First one from the Yankees, Clark Schmidt. 5 and a third innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, no walks. 7 punch-outs. And as you see, I listened to you guys with the roster rates. So Clark Schmidt was absolutely dominant over the weekend on Friday night against the Rays. And he is only 11% rostered in ESPN leagues, 11.8% in Yahoo. He's a little more rostered. He's 24%. If you need help with starting pitching, I would consider adding Nestor Cortez. Now we get to Tyler Alexander of the Rays. This is another start for him where he goes 5 innings, 5+ innings, 5 and a third, 2 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. That's 3 straight games that he's had 3 or more strikeouts. And as you see by his roster percentage, he is heavily available in fantasy leagues. He's 0.3% rostered on ESPN, and he's not rostered at all on Yahoo. And he starts against his former team, the Tigers, this week. And speaking of the Tigers, we have another Tigers starting pitcher on here. It is Reese Olson. He went 5 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts against the Twins this weekend. I was really... How do I say this? I was really impressed with Reese Olson this week. A nice bounce back performance. He is rostered in 4.9% of leagues on ESPN and on Yahoo Fantasy Baseball Leagues. He's 20% rostered. I would consider adding him and putting him on my bench. If you need a streamer or a spot start from somebody, Reese Olson wouldn't be a bad idea. And then the Royals, Alec Marsh, who I talked about on Weekend Preview last week. If you go back to Friday, I talked about him on Weekend Preview. And I said I expected a really good start from him on Friday against the Orioles. And what did he do? He went 5 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 0 earned runs. He walked 2, struck out 6. And Alec Marsh, I think, rest of the season for me, he's a top 40 SP. He's inside my top 40 of my rest of season rankings for pitchers, which, if you didn't know, I will be putting my rankings out on Patreon going forward for anybody to see for fantasy baseball and when this football season starts. But for Alec Marsh, he's 5.1% rostered on ESPN and on Yahoo roster rate. He is rostered in about 8% of leagues on Yahoo. I think all these guys need to be added more on either Yahoo or ESPN. Waiver wire part 1, pitchers under 80% rostered. First guy I'm going to talk about, Andrew Abbott of the Reds. It seems like Abbott is back to being a good pitcher he was toward the end of last year, and I like that. He is very low rostered on ESPN, only 19.7%. He's a bit more rostered on Yahoo at 47%. But if he's out there on your waiver wire, I wouldn't hesitate to put 3 to 5%, maybe 10% of my budget if you're in a fab league on Andrew Abbott. I think he's in for a big rest of season. And he will be inside my top 40 for the rest of the season rankings. Royals pitcher Seth Lugo. I talked about his teammate Alec Marsh a minute ago. Now it's Seth Lugo's turn. Seth Lugo is another guy that has pitched very well to start the season. And I am surprised at how under-rostered he is in ESPN and, quite frankly, in Yahoo. I think in ESPN leagues, that roster rate needs to double to at least 50 to probably 60%. And I think he needs to be rostered in over 80% of leagues in Yahoo as well. Number 3 for pitching waiver wire, the pitcher waiver wire under 80% rostered is Mackenzie Gore. I know he's had an up and down start the season, but I've been surprised. I kind of called a breakout for him, but I think it's coming. He's 20.4% rostered in ESPN leagues, 56 in Yahoo. I think those both need to be doubled. He needs to be over 60% rostered in Yahoo leagues. I think he needs to be over 30% rostered in ESPN. And the last pitcher I'm going to mention in the waiver wire for today is Bryan Bello of the Red Sox. He is 34.6% rostered in ESPN leagues. In Yahoo leagues, he just barely makes the threshold. 71% rostered in Yahoo leagues. I think Bello in Yahoo leagues, he should be at that threshold of 80%. I don't understand why he's under 80% rostered. He needs to be rostered in more leagues. Double that Actually, Bello, I think in Yahoo, he should be at least 90% rostered. ESPN, let's say 45 for right now. But if he keeps pitching really well for the Red Sox, I'm going to say that has to be higher than 45%. The patience meter. And I've got three guys on here. And the first one is Randy Arozarena, outfielder of the Rays. 1.5% out of 10. 1.5 out of 10. With Arozarena, I know he is struggling to start the season, but I have full faith that he could turn it around and have a big rest of the season. Number 2 is Guardians starting pitcher Logan Allen. 2 out of 10. I'm supremely confident he's another one that could turn it around. With him right now, what it is the walks. The walks are really killing Logan Allen. If he can fix that and turn that into strikeouts, I think he'll be living with gold. And the last one is Evan Carter. I think he's a 2 out of 10 for me as well. With Evan Carter, I think he's starting to figure it out. He's starting to get more hard hit percentage. Hard hit rate is going up. Strikeout rate is getting slashed in half. I think he is going to have one of these next 2 weeks. He's going to have a huge week. The best hitter matchups this week for fantasy baseball. We start at number 5. It is the Diamondbacks. They have a 6-game week. 6 games on the road. 3 at the St. Louis Cardinals and 3 at the Marlins. For them, these are just chef's kiss for fantasy baseball hitter matchups for me. The Marlins are one of the worst teams in baseball. And I love that matchup. And I also kind of like the Cardinals one too. At number 4 is the Braves. I originally had them in the hitter matchups I didn't like, but I had the schedule kind of mixed up. So now they're over here on the matchups I do like. And they've got 6 games this week. 3 at home against the Marlins and 3 at the Guardians. Again, I'm picking on the Marlins. I just did it a minute ago with the Diamondbacks. Now I'm doing it with the Braves. Get your Braves in your lineup. They are going to mash against Marlins pitching. My number 3 hitter matchup I like. 6-game week for the Cubs. 3 versus the Astros, 3 at the Red Sox. I know I just talked about Bryan Bello or the Red Sox a minute ago. I do like these matchups. Regardless, the Astros, I like it because I'm not going to say we honestly don't know who's going to be pitching for the Astros because half their rotation is injured. Valdez is injured. Javier's injured. They just got Verlander back, so if he's pitching, he's probably on an innings limit for his first couple starts. The number 2 hitter matchups I like this week are the Rays. 6-game week, 3 at home against the Tigers, and 3 on the road against probably the worst team in the American League, and that would be the Chicago White Sox. I like these hitting matchups a lot for the Rays. I think this is a week. If you want to stream your Rays, I would do it this week. And then the Royals are number 1 on the hitter the best hitter matchups. 7 games this week, 4 at home against Toronto, the Blue Jays, and 3 at the Tigers. Okay, and yes, there's 2 teams I've picked on twice, and it's the Marlins and the Tigers. And the Tigers, it's their pitching. The Rays, for one of the 3 games against the Tigers, they get Maeda, which means the Royals might get Maeda in one of the 3 games they have against the Tigers. If you have any of these teams' players, I would stream them this week. If they're also available on the waiver wire, pick them up, stream them. Now we get to the waiver wire for the hitters. And it's changed from last week. The first waiver wire hitter I'm going to mention is Brenton Doyle of the Rockies. ESPN roster rate 4.3%. Rostered in Yahoo at 12%. Yes, of course, I'm going to talk about a Rockies player. And it is Brenton Doyle, who has kind of started off the season surprisingly really well. And I would say if you need a streamer, he's probably a good guy to be streaming this week. Number 2 is Brewers second baseman Brice Turang. 48.9% rostered on ESPN. And he just barely makes the cut on Yahoo as well. 78% rostered. Turang, I don't know if he's going to get you home runs, but if you need stolen bases, Turang is the guy for you, and so is Brenton Doyle. Now, if you need catching help and you lost Francisco Alvarez, look no further than Athletics catcher Shea Langliers. 14% rostered, 14.3% rostered on ESPN. Yahoo roster rate stands at 29%. Langliers is the proverbial everyday catcher for the Athletics, and I would feel more than fine with him being my number 1 catcher until Francisco Alvarez comes back. And then the last waiver wire hitter I'm going to talk about today is Jesse Winker of the Nationals. This is the resurgence we were looking for from Jesse Winker. He is hitting over 300. His ESPN roster rate is 4.2%, and he's 11% rostered on Yahoo. The worst hitter matchups. We're going to start with the Guardians. They've got 3 versus the Red Sox and 3 at the Braves. How I liked the Braves matchups hitting-wise. It's the other way around with the Guardians. They're the 5th worst hitter matchups for me. I would do anything you can to get all your Guardians out of your lineup. Same thing with the Brewers. 7 games this week. 4 at the Pirates, 3 versus the Yankees. Now, the Pirates, that is a give or take matchup for me. It's 4 games. The one I'm looking at here is the Yankees. I do not like that matchup at all from Milwaukee. Even though it's at home, 3 games. We just saw what the Yankees pitching staff did to the Rays. So I would be very cautious and careful with starting your Brewers. Number 3 hitting matchup I do not like this week is the Oakland Athletics. 7 games. 4 at the Yankees. 3 at the Orioles. Brutal 7-game week for the Athletics. Unless you're desperate, I would not think about, other than maybe Langliers, Geloff, Noda, JJ Bleday, Seth Brown. Those are the only guys for the A's I would feel somewhat confident in picking up and starting this week. Number 2 is the Marlins. 3 games at the Braves and 4 at home against the Nationals. And I know what you're going to say. The Nationals were supposed to be one of the worst teams in baseball. Even I said that when I did my predictions. And surprisingly, they have not been the worst team in baseball this year. I'm a little worried about the pitching matchups for the Marlins against the Braves and the Nationals. So that's why they're number 2. Number 1 is the Reds. 7 games this week, 4 at the Phillies, 3 versus the Angels. The Phillies is the one I don't like at all. I do not like that matchup at all. And yep, that's it for that. Ladies and gentlemen, the Sports Talk Podcast offers memberships and merch. The merch is highly recommended that you purchase some if you want to. And same with a membership. You don't have to buy one. But if you feel like you want to, you can. And also, please remember to leave a thumbs up on this video as it helps push it out. It helps the algorithm get this out to more people. Programming note. Sports Talk Podcast, Thursday and Friday, we will have double uploads for you. You'll have your normal fantasy baseball Wednesday recap and weekend preview Thursday and Friday. And then Thursday and Friday night, we will have the first round of the NFL draft live streamed on Thursday. And then Friday will be rounds 2 and 3. And then next Monday, the 29th, I have a special video for y'all. My weekend recap for fantasy baseball will be next Sunday. It will not be on next Monday. Next Monday, I have a special video planned for everyone. Just a little cliffhanger. You'll have to tune into that video next Monday at 11 a.m. to see what it is about. But, ladies and gentlemen, that should wrap up the Sports Talk Podcast today. We do have on September 5th through the 9th, the Sports Talk Podcast will be on the road streaming live in person from Blacksburg, Virginia. For Virginia, that whole week for Virginia Tech and Marshall. But that wraps up the Sports Talk Podcast for today. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday morning. I will see y'all tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. for another episode of the Sports Talk Podcast.